The lavender pickers fill the upper part of the boiler with the lavender plants. When the boiler is filled with its two components, the water and the lavender, it has to be closed with the lid. From this moment, the boiler has to be cooking for an hour or an hour and a half until all the water has evaporated. Obtaining lavender is a distillation process. The water steam that boils in the boiler gets mixed with the essential oils evaporated from the lavender, and they get out through the only open space, a pipe at the top of the boiler. The gases, upon contact with the cold surface in the interior of the pipe, get liquefied and out to the exterior in the form of drops. Now all that remains is to separate the two resulting products. Domingo carefully pours the water, which is below the essence, testing with his hand the moment the oil comes out. For every 500 kilos of plant, 4 kilos of essence can be obtained. We can understand why these men try to prevent any drop of the product from being wasted. Among the diverse flora in the Pre-Pyrenean mountains, there is a very special plant because of the use farmers have given to it, the alhucema. This plant, Lavandula latifolia, it is very similar to the lavender, Lavandula spica. The lavender was harvested when it was at its blooming point, at the end of August or beginning of September. This activity, in which all the members could collaborate, involved a complementary income to the family economy. In old times, the lavender, which grows spontaneously in the unused farmland, it was very abundant. If the cut was good and the reaper agile, one man could harvest between 250 to 300 kilos of lavender in a working day, which was later sold to the lavender picker for a certain price per kilo placed inside the boiler. The tools to harvest the lavender are very simple: the wooden glove and the sickle. With one hand protected with the wooden glove so as to avoid injuries, the reaper takes a handful of lavender and he cuts it down with the sickle until forming an alcaida. This is an alcaida. And this is how you tie it. You tie it like this. It is a band. Now it isn't reaching because it is very short. Those over there are bundles. Here we call them gavilas. And then you put 3, 4, or 5 bundles or gavilas and you make a sheaf. In the middle of the morning, the reapers already have enough lavender plant to fill the boiler. The moment to make the sheaves arrives so as to transport them to the point where the distillation process will take place. The boiler had to be installed in a place with a water flow in order to pass the cooling pipes through it so they could fill its lower part. Besides, the boiler had to be in an accessible place for the reapers who brought their lilac-colored gold on their shoulders or on horses' back. The boiler is divided into 2 parts. In the lower one, separated by a grill, it fits around 40 or 50 buckets of water that these men get from the ditches. The recipient is used to separate the essence from the water, so the water goes up through this higher exit. Weighting less, the essence falls in a stream. Then the water comes out from below, and the essence stays here. It goes up to the level of this one. When the water reaches here, if it is below, the essence comes out by here too. So the water must be higher because it weighs less, and it stays at this level. And it has no other mission than that one. For now you pour water, and you can begin the fire while it gets filled. The water gets hot quickly, and like that you use the time properly. For the first boiling you bring branches, gorses or things like that. Then with the very same boiled lavender it gets spread and it dries by itself. And that is the best firewood to do this. The water in the boiler will be hot in 1 hour. The lavender makers take this time to weigh the sheaves in the weighing scale and take measurement of the kilos each of them have carried. 40 kilos. In old times, the reapers tried to carry the lavender in the morning because it was greener and moister and therefore heavier. The sheaves used to be from 10 to 12 kilos. Once the sheaves are weighed and before the water begins to boil, the lavender makers fill the upper part of the boiler with the lavender plants. In this recipient fit between 450 and 500 kilos of well-pressed plants. In order to reach the maximum capacity in the interior, these men from Biel step on them and press the plants. When the boiler is filled with its two components, the water and the lavender, it has to be closed with the lid. To avoid any steam leak during ebullition, they seal with mud the joint of the two pieces. From this moment on, the boiler must be boiling for about an hour or an hour and a half until all the water has evaporated. Obtaining lavender is a process of distillation. The steam from the water boiling in the boiler mixes with the essential oils, evaporated from the lavender, and exits through the only opening available, a tube at the top of the boiler. This tube is submerged in the channel of running water and has a long path. The gases, upon coming into contact with the surface of the cold interior of the tube, liquefy and exit externally in the form of droplets. The activity at the hearth continues as the boiling state of the water must be maintained. Domingo, who knows this work well, knows that there must be a lot of flame and little ember. Little by little, the resulting liquid from the mixture of steam, water, and lavender comes out more intensely and is collected in the Florentine or watering can. In order to check if the essence is coming out, we do this process, which is very simple and ancient. Fill the can, and since the essence stays on top, you can already tell there's something. I don't think you can see, but here you can already tell that it shines, that it's different from water, and we control it like this. We're monitoring it all the time. We pour this back in here. And then more will come out, much more than what comes out now. Inside the Florentine or watering can, the oil, which is denser than water, floats and occupies the upper part of the container. When the Florentine or watering can is full, the water occupying the lower part comes out through the tube and is collected in a bucket. The control of the boiling is done next to the Florentine or watering can. By the number of buckets of water coming out of the boiler, the lavender harvesters know the time remaining to finish the process. Normally, between 9 and 11 buckets of water usually come out of each boiler, which the lavender harvester counts with stones. The liquid resulting from the boiling gets thicker each time and with more oil content. There are already 10 buckets of water that have been thrown into the channel, and the process is coming to an end. While all the water finishes coming out through the pipe, the lavender harvesters open the boiler and, with a fork, take out the already cooked lavender and without essence. So now we widen it on the ground to dry, and then make a fire with it to cook another lavender that comes behind. And like this for as long as it takes, a month or 2 months, whatever it is, as long as it is necessary. 4 decades ago, when the distillation of lavender was booming throughout the Pre-Pyrenees, the process was continuous and about 4 boilers were cooked each day. The lavender bushes taken from the boiler were spread out on the esplanade to dry and used as fuel in the following boilers. When the boiler was empty and still hot, water and lavender were added again, it was closed, and the process started again. Now only separate the 2 resulting products. Domingo carefully pours the water below the essence, checking with his hand the moment the oil comes out. If we consider that the ratio between the distilled lavender plant and the obtained essence is very large, that is, for every 500 kilograms of plant, about 4 kilograms of essence can be obtained, we can understand that these men tried to prevent a drop of the product from being lost. Despite the poor flowering this year, there has still come out 1.5 kilograms of completely pure and clean essence. The experience of recalling this old activity has been positive. The boiler will stay there as part of the museum territory to light it every year and showcase an old craft typical of this area that has fallen into disuse.